Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Checkmate USA versus India, a unique format, but chess being played in a stadium, the return, if it ever really was there, of chess to a stadium, packed out in Arlington, Texas, so it was very late at night and I've had to watch the replays, because I could not watch live. What an event. What a real event. Team USA, led by GM Hikaru Nakamura. Team India, led by the world champion Gukesh. What an event. What an event it truly was. We've got 5 games to show you. There were a couple more than that, but we've got 5 games to show you. The 5 key matchups. We start with the first one. Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces. Arjun Erigaisi with the black pieces. A reminder, you are playing until checkmate. There are no resignations. If the players force a draw, then they will play a 5-minute tiebreaker, and then they will play bullet chess until the tie is decided, and they score the point. So best out of 5, but you keep playing even if you've won the match. USA has got the white pieces for every game, and Fabiano Caruana starts with c3. That's how the event started. e5, and now d4. And we get this exchange, and I've got no idea what's going on. It's like a Caro-Kann, but in reverse. So Fabi trying something new. We get d5, knight to c3, and now c6. So very unique play from the players. They had 10 minutes on the clock, but I'm not showing you the clocks because they're not working. Like, this is move forward, it says they've both got 0 time. So I don't know what happened with the transmission. Bishop to f4 from Fabi, bishop to d6, and now bishop to g3, so similar to like what you would have seen in various London setups. Knight to e7, e3, knight f5, now bishop to d3, and the knight takes. So Arjun has secured himself the 2 bishops, which is known to be a type of advantage, but Fabiano Caruana does have nasty attacking ideas on h7, which is why g6 gets played, knight to f3, knight to d7, and now queen to d2, preparing potentially long castles. Black can probably still go this way, but you're probably better off getting your knight out, get your bishop out, get your queen out, and long castles. But that takes a very long time. Black is slightly better according to the engine. Queen to e7, and now you can see Fabiano must play long castles. And he does. Knight to f6, king to b1, bishop to g4, pinning the knight. We slide the queen over to c2, because there are various attacking ideas. Because you've not castled yet, your rooks are not connected, so there are various sacrificial ideas. They don't work just quite yet, but maybe there's a faint hope of this. You're not too worried about this pin right at the moment to deal about it. And here, Arjun, seeing that there might be some tactics, plays long castles. But it is a mistake, according to the engine. If it's a real mistake, probably nobody knows. Rook de1, getting out of the pin. King to b8, and now the knight drops back. And now black's pieces look decent-ish, but they've got nowhere to really go. This knight can't come forward. This bishop's got no targets and could just be kicked out, but you'll lose that pawn first. White's pieces, although they're kind of staring at stuff and they've got no easy progress, they can make progress. And they're not just sitting about. So bishop to e6 gets the bishop out the way. Now we get knight to b3. h5. a3. Rook to c8. Knight to a4. We are looking for access to c5, and we're preventing c5 from being played by black. So they play b6. Now knight drops back to c3, but now c5 is possible. It doesn't look it, but it is. c5. You're threatening a fork if you push, so you have to address this. The way the computer wants you to address this is to play the absurd bishop to a6, targeting the rook. And now the computer is a scumbag. It says bishop f5, sacking the queen. This, of course, was not seen by any of the players. So we get queen to b7, and now queen to e2, queen to d7, rook c1. No repetition. We're playing for checkmate. Bishop to g4 hits the queen. Queen slides over. And now bishop to f5. Lots of shuffling. It's a very closed position. So actually having the 2 knights might be better for Fabi. It really, really is. So we get king to a1 and we get this bishop exchange. But now the knight can come in. That has been the problem piece. That is the piece you needed to activate. And now you can. You can temporarily kick this out, but it's a bit of a dopamine move because you would be giving the bishop far more scope. So what we get is rook to c2. Rook comes in, and now we double. And now, not right now, but there are some sacrificing ideas. Moves that are impossible are now becoming possible. Queen to b7. Knight to d1 is such a beautiful move. Why? Because it defends this, so there are no tactics, and now the rooks are open. That is the big idea. a5, now looking to kick out the knight. I'll just bring the knight back, not worried about it. My big asset are these 2 rooks, staring down at that weakness that needs to be defended, and maybe in the future I can push for this. Maybe, just maybe. King to a7, knight to f1. f5. It looks like Arjun is doing a fantastic job. But we continue to shuffle for a little bit more. Fabi makes a slight mistake. Arjun doesn't quite capitalize the right way. And now, queen to b4, knight to e4. Captures. Okay, 1 exchange. This is a very impenetrable dark squared blockade, and you have a dark squared bishop. That is a problem. There are weaknesses if your bishop in the endgame could get round to the base of the pawn chain. But that's probably not going to happen right now. So you're looking for this knight to get onto a good outpost square. Simple. But you need something to open up. So g4, b5, takes, g4 again, a4, queen a2. You don't need to worry about the fact that the queen is passive at the moment. Because all the play is this side. And Fabiano Caruana has got 2 passed pawns. And this one, for black, will be corralled. So h takes g4, now we've got 1, but the knight's going to be targeted. Queen to b6, rook to c3, king b7. How's Fabi going to break through? Now you've got a decision to make. And Arjun makes the wrong decision, he takes the knight. And it's a bad decision because now this pawn is a permanent problem. Yes, you may get play here, but you're getting play where your king is. Rook f7, rook c5. Queen b1, and now Fabiano Caruana is in the driving seat as he now gets his queen out the way. And look at this, f5, rook g2, e6, takes, trying to shred open the defenses of the king. It's not happening. e7, rook takes b2, e8 queen, and you're just getting mated. Rook a2, we sack the queen for the 2 rooks. But you're just down 2 rooks because it's another queen. Queen a6, king b2. Check, block, takes, and now take. And I will mate you in 2 moves, which is exactly what happens. So Fabiano Caruana wins. Despite the fact in my preview video I gave the edge to Arjun Erigaisi, he wins. And he makes it 1-0 to the USA. Now in game 2, we've got... Oh, don't jump to the end. Why does it do that? We've got Carissa Yip versus Divya Deshmukh. I was giving the edge to Divya, but it is really hard to play with the black pieces. Once again, the clocks were not working. e4, c5. We get a Sicilian defense. Carissa going for a more classical opening with e4. Nothing from Fabi like the c3. Knight to c3, e6. And we get a very, very, I want to say mainline Sicilian kind of thing. Bishop to b4, castles. We take once. And we play this beautiful move, e5. Queen takes d1, rook takes d1, knight to d5, and now knight to e4. Looking to secure beautiful squares in the center of the board. Gonna kick out this, gonna bring the bishop out, and you've got a balanced position. b6 is played though, which is strange. A Sicilian defense for 1 play is out of theory on move 11, and it's the higher rated player, the Grandmaster. It's very interesting. We get c4, looking to kick out the knight, but the knight just jumps back. And now you get bishop to g5, but h6. And what are you actually doing? Oh, I'm going to put my bishop on to d8, and I'll do this. Look at that move. You want to know the best part of this position? You can see it on the evo bar. White's winning. Now your bishop is kind of trapped. You can go back to h4. You cannot sacrifice it, just by the way, because the knight would take. And there's no other way to sacrifice it. So you've either got to take the knight and lose the bishop, and then try and grab another pawn maybe. But probably you've got to find something else. So the something else is taking the knight. Takes back, which hits the knight again, and now a3. Now a3. a3 was the preferred move a couple moves ago when I said you got to look for something else. It is found now. We grab, and bishop here. You might say, wait, hang on. This knight's hanging. It's not really because your rook's hanging. So we've got to move the bishop out the way, and now the knight retreats. Ladies and gentlemen, just count the material. Divya Deshmukh miscalculated, and he's just down a clean piece. It's not that black doesn't have compensation, because you do have a pass pawn. This is a weakness. This is a weakness. But you're down a piece. c5. Takes. Rook d2. a5. She's going to have to create something, but she's down a piece. And, just by the way, look at that move. Knight to e4. Look at that, because I'm going to just take everything. What a move. So here, check. Now my knight has a beautiful square, and now I can take. Bishop takes. a3 is the last attempt, but I just take it. We push, move the rooks out the way. Takes. We liquidate to this position. But a4, rook a5, and now rook d4. Bishop to e6, and this position, even this, is completely winning for white. And Carissa Yip goes on to convert this very smoothly, relatively speaking, considering here they were lowish on time. She does lose a couple of pawns. In fact, she only has one pawn left, and she sacks the rook. But after rook a1, the game was finished. I think Divya must have flagged, because you normally play till checkmate. But as you can see, it's not mate on the board, so I do believe she flagged. Anyway, game 3. Yes, it doesn't flick out. Oh, it did. Damn it. And I wasn't ready for it. So it is 2-0 to the USA. India really need to fight back. This game is the decider. Effectively, India need to win to keep the match alive. They need to go 3-0. It is Tani, it is Ethan. c4, e6, and we have an English opening. We have a main line kind of English opening. h6, knight to f3, knight to f6, bishop to f4, an early exchange. And really, if I was giving you this position in the classical chess game, I would expect this to be a draw. Literally, after 12 moves and c6, I would expect this to be a draw. But it's a rapid game, being played in front of nearly 20,000 people-ish. I don't think there's 20,000 people. But a lot of people, in a stadium, in a pressure situation, where you cannot draw the game, unless you force it. Rook ac1, rook fe8. Rook fd1, and look at this. Just some calm moves as the pieces maneuver. And what is the real plan for both sides? What are they trying to achieve? Well, black has got 2 knights, white has got a bishop. This bishop is beautifully aligned, but that square is protected. Black is using their knights as best as they can, trying to jump into the center. That is their main goal. There is some tension here on the queen side when you've got this 4 versus kind of 3-ish, if we include the center pawn. So white can try like a minority kind of attack, which is what you do to try and disrupt this strong center and pawn structure. So we get knight to e2, knight to g4, and look at that, knight to f4. White maneuvers their knight as well. Rook ae8, bishop to f1 is a mistake, and now Ethan Vaz for India has a chance to put the USA under some pressure if he plays the move you can see on screen, g5. Knight d7. And not only does he not play it, we get b4 from Tani. A takes b4, rook takes b4, now putting pressure. The knight goes back by a double. And now you play g5, it comes too late. I can move my knight to the center, you've got pawns hanging, and my knight is going to find a beautiful outpost on the e5 square. g4 is played, trying to create an attack. I simply play h4, which is not the best move. The best move here is, as you can see, to take the pawn. h4 will do the job, because black has no holding moves, really. They play knight to h5, it's not good enough. Now I play knight to e5. Yes, you can play g3, I just played f3. Knight to f2 is a beautiful looking move. You get the knight nice and close to the king, it's not good enough. Queen f5. We sack the rook, but takes. And check, and Tani goes on and finds, not quite mate, but at least a draw. But you've got to be so precise. Check, check, and the king is just getting mated. How it's level, how the Evo bar thinks this is level, is unbelievable. I don't know where it is. Where is the levelness? I'll tell you where it is. Knight takes h5. Knight takes h5 prolongs the game. You give your king enough breathing room, and you cover some key squares. Instead of that, c5 is played. And the eval bar now begins to rise because of rook to b6. And you've got a problem. Queen e7 holds on for just a little bit longer, but queen takes h6. Everything is crumbling. d4 is played. Rook c1, not the most accurate move from Tani, but it is all good enough. Check, the king, we trade, and this endgame is just completely winning for white, as Tani goes on to make it 3-0 to the USA and win them the match. The knights try to hold each other together, and eventually you can sack the knight, get the queen, and just go on to wrap this game up. Queen versus two knights. As long as you don't blunder a fork, you'll be fine, which is possible in low time, but you have to sack the knight. And now it's about prying the knight away from the queen. Any fork here wins, but you gotta find it. And, credit to Ethan, he holds on for a very long time, but eventually Tani walks the king to its death. 3-0 to the USA. All of them finished in the rapid games. But, ladies and gentlemen, the next two games are incredible, and this match has a finish you would not have expected. Levy Rozman versus Sagar Shah was game 4. Now the USA had already won at this point. These two drew their 10-minute game, so they're now playing a 5-minute game. e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and Levy plays a scotch. So you can see he's very much in his short form repertoire. He's not playing d4, he's not playing c4, he's not playing knight f3, he's playing e4, he's playing a scotch. He's going for something. We get bishop to b4 check, c3, and now this line with bishop to c5. Bishop to e3 threatens the tactic. Well-known tactic in the scotch, you can't just develop, because then I take, and I threaten the queen, and then I remove and then I take the bishop. So we get bishop to d6, and now bishop to e2, knight to f6, bishop to f3 is an interesting line. Short castles, knight moves towards the center, and I just play knight to d2, d5, and now bishop to g5, c5, knight to c2, d4. Sagar Shah pushing everything forward. He's played very well in the first game, and he's going to have to play well here. I mean, he's playing for pride against Levy, who's found all the right moves so far, but black is slightly better. Once again, I'm not changing the clocks, they're not working. It says Levy has 30 seconds, it says Sagar Shah has no time at all, so there's no point in showing them to you. Sagar Shah's just got a slightly better position, despite the fact his pawn structure is damaged. That might actually be a benefit, because he could get his rook onto the g-file. He's got the bishop versus the knight, he's got this passed pawn, and Levy's going to have to create quick counterplay, which is why maybe the king being opened keeps it levelish. Otherwise, black's just better. Queen to d3, rook f8, rook ad1. Sorry, not rook f8, rook fe8, rook ad8, and b3. b3 just a nice waiting move. The queen doesn't see a2 anymore. Queen to e4, looking for a queen trade. Levy cannot trade queens. He goes to b5, queen to d5, offering a queen trade. A queen trade, just so we're clear, for everybody, is losing for white. You make this trade, you let the engine think, it thinks it's still fine, but it is so much harder to defend this position. I'm telling you this now. And your knight struggles to get into the game unless you maneuver it to somewhere like c4, which takes a couple of turns. So queen to d3, rook e6, h3, queen e4 offering queen trade again. Now queen to b5, but now Sagar Shah can push the pawn forward. Now he can. He doesn't. He plays queen c6, still looking for the queen trade. Queen h5, queen d5, check, king h8, queen f4. Threatening various things, but now you can push the pawn. Pushing the pawn is good. Rook to g8. Nope. I'm not as good a player as Sagar Shah. I'm gonna hold my hands up. I'm not as good a player as Sagar Shah. I do not understand why rook to g8 was played. Your whole purpose in this game is to push this pawn forward. Yes, this move looks fantastic, and you've got pressure, and now the queen has to kind of stay tethered to the knight, or you've got to slide the king out the way. I do not understand it, because now rook fe1 can be played, and it's not the best move, and Sagar Shah is better, but you're allowing Levy some play. And you would have to find bishop to c7, and the idea is, okay, sack this, but get this, and threaten mate. And this is a problem, and, you know, all of this is a problem. But he plays rook takes e1, and we get this trade, and now he plays it. He hangs mate in 2. Can you find mate in 2? Because I'm going to tell you right now, Gotham Chess, 6.8 million subscribers on YouTube, missed mate in 2. He played rook to d1. You might say, wait, where's mate in 2? Mate in 2 is queen takes f6, rook to g7, and rook e8 mate. Boom. Which is really funny. Levy is rated 2358, Sagar Shah is 2307, average rating of call it 2325, missed mate in 2. Really funny, and they had low time, so, you know, it's excusable. It's just really funny. Rook to d8. Now, mate in 2 is not there, because the king would be able to escape. Queen takes f6 now played, now king to g8. Rook to d2, bishop to a5, trying to remove the rook, so rook to d1, and now d2. It looks like it is simply over, but as I told you at the start of this game, there is counterplay on the black king. Queen to f4, looking for checks, queen to d3. Loses the game. The idea is very simple. You're trying to sneak in here to put pressure on the rook and to promote the pawn. What you miss is queen to g5, king to h8, and queen takes a5. You just lost your bishop. Now queen e2 looks like it wins, but you miss something. There are a couple moves that hold here. Namely, queen takes d8 check, king here, and I grab this pawn. Game over. Just like that. Queen e6, check, and king to h8 was basically a resignation, because here is mate in 2, simply with rook d8, queen drops back, and mate. 4-0 to the USA. 4-0. Final game. Why does it do that? Hikaru plays b4. Now, I know they won. And also for context, this is a bullet game. They drew the rapid game. They drew the 5-minute game. They're playing bullet chess. e6, bishop to b2, knight to f6. a3. This is a very common gambit, just by the way. You can't take this. I hope you're clear. This is a very common trap in bullet chess because you lose this and then you would be losing the rook. So it's a common trap. So a3 is played, and knight to f6 to avoid that. So now we get d5, e3, bishop to d6, c4, long castles, knight to f3, and it's a bullet game. I don't really know how much analysis you want me to do when the players had less than like 60 seconds to think. Knight to a6, they maneuver. Like, they're still pros, they're still doing a lot of the right things, but I think I mostly want to talk about the ending to this game, which, if you don't know already, it ends very favorably for the world number 2, Hikaru Nakamura. He threatens Gukesh's king constantly, and yes, Gukesh is completely winning this position, but it's bullet. And he's got 2 pass pawns, he loses 1, and Hikaru's just looking to knock everything out. He's looking for that knockout blow. He surrenders a pawn, gets his bishop kicked away a couple of times, but he makes a couple of weakening moves, does Gukesh, and falls to rook takes d5. A beautiful rook sacrifice. The rook! While Levy Rozman was sitting right there, Gotham chess. He takes d5 and now queen here, and it's just simply mate. Rook takes f2, you have to sack the rook and try to get everything okay. b3, rook c1, and now Gukesh is winning. How about that? You can sacrifice the rook and still be losing. But he unfortunately trades, and now this is a draw. But there are no draws. There are no draws in this format. Queen f6 threatening mate, check, and king f8 hangs mate in 1. Hikaru checkmates Gukesh, picks up Gukesh's king, and throws it into the crowd. 5-0 to the USA.